Some business news for you now. And French video game company Ubisoft has seen its share prices tumble as markets open this Monday. It's been dealing with what's been described as toxic staff behavior in the workplace. Catherine Bennett's with me on the set to talk a bit more about all of this. So, Catherine, what's happening there?
Well, the company announced this weekend that 3 of their top executives will be stepping down. That's their creative director, Serge Asquin, the CEO of their Canada office, Yanis Malin, and Cécile Cornet, the global head of HR, who reportedly covered up this huge climate of workplace bullying and harassment within the company. So this all started at the end of June when a number of women came forward on Twitter recounting their own experiences of sexual harassment, both at Ubisoft, in their Paris headquarters office, and in general across the gaming industry. And people, of course, began to name and shame. Now, the French newspaper, Libération, went on to then publish quite an in-depth investigation in the Paris-based company in their headquarters here in Paris, and brought to light around 20 different stories of sexual harassment, some dating back from many years ago. Now, one of the central figures in those harassment claims is Serge Asquin. He's this powerful creative, or was this powerful creative director in the Paris office, who was accused of not only turning a blind eye to, but actively encouraging this workplace environment of sexism and aggression even towards staff. Now, these revelations, of course, meant that Ubisoft had no choice, heads had to roll, and Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot said in a statement this weekend that the company had fallen short of its obligation to guarantee a safe and inclusive workplace environment for its employees. He said that it was unacceptable, that toxic behaviour is in direct contrast to the values on which he has never compromised and never will.
What kind of response has there been to this scandal, both in regard to Ubisoft and to the gaming industry as a whole, which, as you said, has this reputation of being quite sexist?
Absolutely. Well, as you said earlier, in the short term, the markets have responded quite swiftly. So as the markets in Europe opened this morning, Ubisoft shares dived over 8%. So that's a huge fall. And so that, of course, is a swift response by investors, by businesses, and when it comes to the company, when it comes to Ubisoft in particular, now, although the company has taken action in firing the executives, yesterday the company did decide to go ahead with a huge streaming event that it had planned already called Ubisoft Forward. And this was an event where they invited participants from all over the world and they presented new content from the upcoming games. They let participants win awards, etc. Now, the company made it clear that it would not be responding to or even mentioning the scandal during this event, which is quite a surprising PR move considering the scope of and the very nature of the harassment claims within the company. And I think perhaps they're able to do so because the gaming industry, as you say, has this reputation for being a very masculine space. So, for instance, if we take Ubisoft has a total of about 18,000 employees worldwide, only 22% of whom are women. And within France, that number of female employees goes down to only 14%. Now, we've already seen a reckoning in the gaming industry. That was Gamergate in 2014, where again we had this name and shame of people who have accusing people of sexism and misogyny. Now it looks like this potentially could be a second wave of that, although at the moment it is smaller than the Gamergate scandal was at the time. But of course, for people working in the industry and for gamers everywhere, they're hoping that this hopefully could be some sort of watershed moment for sexism in the industry.